learners! Welcome to Zamboanga Sibugay's GIYA on Air in coordination with DepEd Region 9 Zamboanga Peninsula. The lesson that we will be discussing today is found in your English 4, Quarter 2, Module 8. This is Teacher Juvy, and together, let's learn a new topic about how to use the past form of irregular and irregular verbs. This time, you will observe 5 pictures in your What's In activity. What did these people do yesterday? To answer this activity, change the form of the verbs found on the picture to their past tense since the actions happened yesterday. Write your answer on the space provided after each picture. For picture 1, cook becomes cooked. For picture 2, eat is ate in the past tense. For picture 3, the answer is that is correct. It's wrote. What about picture 4? You are right. The answer is brushed. And number 5 is very good. It's called. Good job for answering your first task. Now, we will read a story about the thirsty crow. You will learn some lessons as we read this story and try to notice the underlined words in it. Read with me so you can answer the comprehension questions after. The thirsty crow. On a hot day, a thirsty crow flew all over the fields looking for water. For a long time, she could not find any. She felt very weak, almost giving up hope. Suddenly, she saw a water jug below her. She flew straight down to see if there was any water inside. Yes, she could see some water inside the jug. The crow tried to push her head into the jug. Sadly, she found that the neck of the jug was too narrow. Then she tried to push the jug down for the water to flow out. She found that the jug was too heavy. The crow thought hard for a while. Then looking around, she saw some pebbles. She suddenly had a good idea. She started picking up the pebbles one by one, dropping each into the jug. As more and more pebbles filled the jug, the water level kept on rising. Soon it was high enough for the crow to drink. Her plan had worked. So that was the story about the thirsty crow. Learners, for you to be guided more in understanding the story, do not forget to answer the comprehension questions found on page 3 of your module. And now, these are the underlined words in the story. Try to notice the words started, worked, tried, felt, flew, saw, and found. These are examples of verbs in the simple past tense. The simple past tense of the verbs comes in 2 forms. Number 1, regular verbs. And we have number 2, irregular verbs. These 2 forms of verbs are used to talk about completed actions in the past. Regular verbs use ed or d to tell past actions. The spelling changes when we add ed or d. Now let's discuss the regular and irregular verbs one by one and on when and how to use them. Here are the rules in changing regular verbs and irregular verbs into their simple past form. Let's have the first rules in changing the regular verbs into their simple past form. Rule number 1. With most irregular verbs, we simply add ed to the base form. For example, start becomes started. Work becomes worked. For regular verbs ending in e, add d only. For example, decide becomes decided. Arrive becomes arrived. Rule number 2. Regular verbs ending in a consonant, change the y into I and add ed. For example, try, change y to I and add ed becomes tried. Carry, change y to I and add ed becomes carried. For example, cry, change y to I and add ed. The baby cried during the night. There is an exemption to this rule. If there is a vowel before the letter y, we leave the y and add only ed. For example, play becomes played. Rule number 3. With one-syllable verbs that end in consonant, vowel, consonant, or CVC combinations, we double the last consonant. For example, stop with T as consonant, O as vowel, P as consonant becomes stopped. Clap becomes clapped. Rub, rubbed. Ban, banned. The simple past tense for regular and irregular verbs often has time reference. Example, yesterday I washed my hands. The time reference is yesterday. The past tense of the verb wash is, you are correct, washed. Next example. She crossed the bridge yesterday. The past tense of cross is crossed. And the time reference is? That is correct. It's yesterday. We're done with regular verbs and a great job for studying the rules given. This time, let's explore irregular verbs forming into simple past form. Remember, irregular verbs change their spelling when they form the past action. All the verbs in column B are in the simple past form. They tell something that was done an earlier time or that happened in the past. We changed some letters of the action words. We use the expression like yesterday, last Sunday night, and more. For rule number 1, verbs in this set end with D in the present form. When they are changed to past form, D becomes T. For example, simple present form to simple past tense. Number 1, send becomes sent. Number 2, spend becomes spent. We have rule number 2. Verbs in this set end with O in the present form. However, when they are changed to past tense, O becomes E. For example, simple present form to simple past tense. Number 1, blow becomes blew. Number 2, grow becomes grew. And now for rule number 3. Study how the verbs in this set changed into their past form. From simple present tense to simple past tense. Number 1, drink is drank. Number 2, ring becomes ran. And number 3, swim is swam. We have another examples from present tense to past tense of irregular verbs. We have fall is fell, shake, shook, make, made, see, saw, find, found, catch, caught. Let's try these three words. We have feel. What is the past tense? That is correct. It's felt. Teach is taught. Break is, that is correct, broke. They don't have the specific rules, so we have to familiarize and learn them. For example, in sentence, I drank a glass of milk yesterday. The past tense of the verb drink is drank. The time reference is yesterday. Let's have the reverse. Yesterday, mother swept the yard. The time reference is still yesterday. The past tense of the verb sweep is swept. Dear learners, those were the rules in changing regular and irregular verbs into their simple past form. This time, to attain our objective, which is to use the past form of regular and irregular verbs, shall we have these two activities, the what's more activity and the assessment part. Direction. Write the simple past tense of the verb inside the box. You have 5 seconds to answer each number. Number 1, observe. What is the simple past tense of this word? The answer is, that is correct, observed, with D. Number 2, show. The answer is, very good. The answer is showed with ED. We have number 3, the word is send. And the answer is amazing. That's correct, sent. Number 4, love is loved with D. And number 5, sleep becomes great. It's slept. That's a well done activity. To sum up, the action words observed, showed, and loved are in past tense formed by adding ed or d and are examples of regular verbs, while the verbs sent and slept are examples of irregular verbs. And now, let us proceed to our final activity, the assessment part. Directions. Underline the correct past tense of the verbs in the parentheses. You got 3 seconds to answer. Number 1, Aliyah spent her vacation in the city last year. The answer is, that's right. The answer is, Aliyah spent her vacation in the city last year. Remember, spent is irregular verb. Number 2, during my birthday, my father drank wine. What is your answer? Great! The answer is, during my birthday, my father drank wine. Drank is irregular verb. Number 3, her mother buy snacks after classes. The answer is great. Her mother bought snacks after classes. Bought is irregular verb. Number 4, Amber played in the plaza yesterday. The answer is Amber played in the plaza yesterday. We have the last number, number 5. Last night, Zion watched a movie. The answer is, last night Zion watched a movie. Watched is a regular verb. You've just completed the final task. Congratulations for that. My dear learners, please remember to completely answer the parts of your module. I hope you have learned a lot on how to use the past form of regular and irregular verbs. This is again Teacher Juvy, who is always willing to be your backup English. Be safe and be happy always. Thanks for watching. Bye!